wall. By emphasizing their potential as well as their danger, words here are offered neither as problems nor as solutions, but as complicated units of attention that we give and receive actively. Spurlock explains, they say music is better than words, so that's why I use words. There's no improvement to offer, this isn't about progress, unquote. Here, she neither describes nor instructs, but instead holds and opens and makes an offering. Please join me in welcoming Violet Spurlock to the Poetry Project.
Oh my gosh. What a sweet introduction. Thank you, Laura. And everyone else at the Poetry Project. Really such a joy to be reading in New York and to see so many friendly faces here. As Laura said, I mean, the book is kind of trying to figure out why we write poems or what we think that a poem can do. And I feel like both meant that the poems were really difficult to write and felt like they had really high stakes, and on another level it meant that they were really easy to write and had very low stakes. So I invite you to experience them in either fashion. And I'm so excited to hear you tonight, Wendy. It's really such a joy to be published together by Future Poem, and this is also the moment where I say thank you to Aiden and Dan and everyone who works at Future Poem. It's been really a wonderful experience putting this book out with all of you. It should be available very soon, and you can pre-order it tonight at the counter. And I think that's everything I have to say, other than all of this stuff that I have to say. Thank you again for being here. So the book is in 8 sections. I'm going to read the first section, and then excerpts from the final section, and excerpts from the 6th section. Epidermal ripple pools. We debate about my tiny titties. You think they are getting bigger. I think they are getting smaller. Predictable. You say that I don't see myself from the side. See, that's an argument. You may offer me sensory details about how you view my profile, but I process it as evidence against my perspective, for which I am grateful. You tell me a fairy tale. A man wins and loses the love of a fairy. A range of voices, images, explanations. The central object is bread. The central action is violence. We don't have to go too deep into analysis because the surface is so rich. I smile because I'm noting our difference, and it is so beautiful. Your story is completely compelling, generous in delivering pleasure, enough for anyone to fall in love. I write a story which is really a record of my own belief. My friend says it leaves the reader little to chew. The thoughts are so highly processed that sensory details and experiences have already been refined into conclusions. I offer that it is apt for the writing to appear more as essay than as narrative because I often live my life more as essay than as narrative. My friend says, well, I wasn't going to say it. My story is a lonely meditation mirroring the paucity of the reader's life, a salve for the heartsick. You say you can't write in the form of a project. I say I can't write good descriptions. We like each other's writing. I read a friend's book and it contains images. The images are clearly allegorical, and I discern from the passages featuring direct argument and my conversations with the friend that the images refer to ideas I am interested in expressing, compelled to express. I like my mode of expressing ideas, and I like their mode of expressing images. An imagined collaboration emerges as a solution. I think if only someone could offer me images, ready-made, please, ethically sourced, if possible. I know you think that the world is full of images, that inspiration is waiting outside my window, and you're right, but you're wrong. An image is a highly processed abstraction. Its function is to help you forget about abstraction. How is it made? We are forbidden to say. In this poem, I am avoiding the use of images. Are my titties an image? Perhaps for you. And am I forced to follow my logic here? To admit that my titties are, to me, an argument, an idea, a concept? Perhaps. My titties certainly have a spectral existence. If I describe them to you, I am both extending and negating the imagined space that they fill. My titties are under consideration now. If my titties develop further, it will be due to what we call conscious choice. This fact, which cannot be perceived by assessing the physical qualities of titties, would seem to give my developed titties a sort of special status, chosen titties. Would we mystify this fact by describing the titties? I began by thinking about the words that I needed but could not give myself. One of those words was titties. If this word denotes an image, and the image is supposed to emanate from my body, then my body, to be described thusly, has a responsibility to correspond to the word which describes it. That is why the word, if it is an image, is used. This is the conditionality of description. This is what I cannot bear. This is the only way I exist. I recall asking a friend about her sex life. She said, "Well, my pussy doesn't quite get hard these days." It is important that we extrapolate no fact about her body from this word. It is inevitable that we will extrapolate. If you love description, you will probably extrapolate images. Hopefully you know how to do so lovingly, generously. I love my friend's pussy because it's saying to me of a hidden power. I am not talking about my friend's body. We spoke on the phone. I love my friend's pussy because a word was made different in response to a need. The word, pussy, fit as naturally into the sentence as any other. The sentence described a change in the quality of an entity over time. The sentence reformulated the shape of an image. But the sentence saved me because it articulated a form of life, a life in which the words we use are the words we need. I love my friend's pussy because I cannot speak its name without getting free. So that is the opening poem, and I'm going to now jump to the very end, the title section, which is in lieu of solutions. It's a long section, and I'm only going to read maybe the first 4 or 5 pages. In lieu of solutions. You don't think you're reading this poem to evaluate my conduct. You think you're reading this poem to harvest a speck of beauty. Start with neck skin. My razor cut myself. Oh, sigh, I am not anything, but they may make me something yet. The safest part of my body is A, hair, B, eyes, C, wardrobe, D, camera. All the face is a pressure gauge. All the faces in a line, conspiring. How has organizing the world around desire gone for us? Has the world ever been organized around desire? Has the world ever been organized around need? Once you say more than 3 things, they all become equivalent. The totality is a fascist canto. Labor, I do this, I do that. Revolution, I want this, I want that. Spirit, I am nothing, I am nothing. What is the difference between a list of items in your home and a list of your political demands? A, labor, B, desire, C, plastic, D, nothing. The thing about continuance is that there's no way out of it. Wishing for the inevitable, you avoid risky desires, so we bask in the wise shade of the eternal tree, smiling at its own death, only a new chapter of life. I'm trying to think from the fire's perspective. You know, it's doing its thing just like us. Words of a wise and peaceful child? Or a man whose life work is civilizational redesign? Nature is our illusory exemption to total social control. Riots occur spontaneously wherever cruelty's limits are tested. A civil war interrupts a nation's regularly scheduled violence. Look, I'm as collected as any of you. It's terrifying to continue. Swallowing it all and talking with my mouth full, that's the baseline. That's breakfast. Does it bear repeating? Pleasure is when I don't yet know what's bugging me. I spent the day battling procedure fetishists. They beg to be admonished and in the same breath admired. Shh, Mama's here. Natural to purge to the tune of a few thousand, and the immaterial sentiments delectable. Can we rationalize this for him? Lapse into absolutes like a child into strong arms? Presumed sweet innocence of the feminine spirit, a safe dosage of sin. It's cute the way a person can be, totally baffled by a little detail. It's just an FDA regulation, honey. You can hate me, you just have to go through the appropriate channels. Surely your passion is more than capable of filling out this form. Gunpoint interruption, a saintly attitude towards procedure, well-intentioned women too comfortable suffering unduly, blinking at the market, breathing in the clinic, so biological in possible past life regressions, yet I know no organic time, licking the intervals, performing transfers until I can't no more. I cannot enter any building other than my house. No other person on earth knows my neck exists. I cannot go to a place where this is not happening. After the credits roll, my eyes align the room. Watching the workman in neon green rainproof gear climb the pole, I can't become him any more than we are the same. The stale whiff lingering on a foreclosed opportunity. A memory of color melted the grid, neon blue stain on linen pillowcase, drooling out my bedtime pills. I can't help you, I'm too disoriented, tapping my nails against the wood, standing at the end of chatter. Timelessness overtakes me. Suffering emotional fixity, feeling stuck. Put my whole back into washing these damn dishes, letting myself become just this physical process for a single simple thought. Hating a job is like loving a dog. Stuck blinking at the market, surrounded by automatons buzzing with prefab love, naturally powered by the sun. I don't want to be too hard on them, but to be honest, they fucked me up. But they fucked up fucking me up because I don't reciprocate. That goes on for some time. The final section I want to read from seems to really strike a chord with Wendy, so I knew I wanted to read from it tonight. It's called The Unseduced, and I'll read maybe a little over half of it. A young something or other, the girls found and pinned me on the sandy carpets of a vanishing hallway. Their tweezers floated and stung between my regions, condensing my eyes into dark clouds of injured pride. Secretly, my love was blooming in the shrill fog. Some of its sheddings landed on me. I felt their prodding through a vellum that blurred the line between victim and crush. Red blotches spelled my limits and possibilities, a tunic draped however it is allowed. A removal fetish proliferated among the fecund critics who dreamed of amputating their own fruits. In an airier room, a sexier year, the cast-offs would be wrapped up in a mesh reverie. I turn off the lights to make peace with fog walls I can't traverse. Only external indicators can give me any capacity. A living, if earned, becomes a privilege. Even if you have it, it's been rendered inessential and thereby weaponized. Intrinsic value only lives in scrapped drafts, little pleas which invite men to get all snivelly. Oh, anything but that. I'd rather be sworn to oblivion. I felt a new kind of naked in front of my friend sneaking me fruit for free in full sunlight, and wrapped in anonymizing puffy pouches of feathers when paying nothing for a visit to the bike doctor. The mystery is my unchanging outfit. My ethics are so easily swamped facing this immaculate bedroom you carry with you everywhere. I worry nobody outside this town could ever believe my name is my name, my lips open in concert with your lips. Without synchronization, I can only fondle plastic ferns in a waiting room so chaste it adds another sweater to my dejected, receding question, who has the time? I invented chronological residue to give my envy a jelly form. Love's lilting tears blessed the pleasure desert. The key at the end of the book was not incomplete enough, every element definite, or worse, weightless. The letters would be better off smudged into indistinct angel wings. If their sleep is taxed, inattention poses flesh tests, ending glum and sticky. I'm offering an extra imprint. My upwardly mobile pastry, with its powdered and slivered water gluttons, validates the permit of all loungers. Other animals give us license to interact. Free speech tricks the speaker into laughing off the physical toll. It always starts inside you. Like a lucky sucker, I fail to utilize my dental privileges. Blood swells serve to remind me. Not enough thinking with your nipples. Backdoor bias makes all our ennui go round. This is nice, Grandma. Unbelievable dialogue, meaninglessly accompanying the baton, was how we learned not being a cop is more important than being human. Because my friend slept, I lived indulgently. Whether it felt good was an accident. The man in my house was pulling off his face, saying they weren't all men at the gym. My edgewise word was about my father, inevitably. Sad to hear about her gender being stolen recently. My body accrues time and loses it at the same rate, and sometimes, when a festival arrives, I realize all at once that I haven't acquired much evidence to prove that I exist, that I can sit in front of the artists, that I do speak sexual languages, that obvious things deserve at least an afternoon's puzzling, and my confusion is not unbecoming. I'll skip this one. Futures Watcher remains determined in the last instance. Change leaves us in slow seeking, as if on a collapsible bridge, choking down wooden bubbles in the gasp economy. I place half my trinkets at the altar of language's declarative power. What is sacrifice when a universal metric of value credibly looms over every dead or living object? Child takeover, making a mockery of stipend rent reversibility. 5 years, 5 figures, and effortless beauty arrives in time for it to no longer be my dream. Just waiting for the next birthday to steamroll you while gossip pours from pink houses and every car is itching to kill. Mochi ice cream on mini veranda, like wake me up when you figure it out. The whole not ending up in a bunker thing. Remember when smoke used to get you high? Now we just try to recall the simulation at the art fair because we could go get food afterwards. Since the sound of plastic crinkling has become metonymy for feeding time, aggregate data tames my body. I inflate dreams and make myself a laughingstock trying to ride them. God and his gun watch over Dad and his fun. Seersucker seduction and the quiet deployment of nuance to contain words from rearing their meanings. They were clean and sweet because time proved their center. Betting on McDonald's breakfast and guaranteed luxury mush. I'm attracted to great amounts of effort undergirding tiny beliefs with unimpeachable limits, because we don't need to discern the flatter path, what with our hale knees. I'm a few crises away from cherishing these mundane drainages. Non-specific warnings flow into samey compliments, adding up to solipsism baubles, filling an overstuffed house, lusting after all the nearby dumpsters. I had thought I would wait until you weren't looking, but this camera's infinite patience carries my death on a platter and serves my half-hearted rage right alongside the miracle berries. Crowd pleasers. What a wish becomes when full of socialized mirrors and tragic caveats. This wish, languishing in line with epidemiological trend, feeds upon itself or cloth masses. Articulated in a photo sequence, all permutations of hair and fat. On whichever swatch lands your wish is your chosen fate. A cabin, a river, a man, relegated to absurd past, represented by incongruent co-presence of dense fur lining a pair of cheery tits. This photo lies in the future anterior, declaiming this will have been your body, both conceivable and unbearable. The smooth girl in the video, flanked by flawless products, betrays none of the complexity of the promise. The music gently orders you to be beautiful. The photos purport to be a sequence, yet a certain image scrambles the others. All hair, fat, and mass has collected in a new center. A face upon the torso, with nipple eyes and navel mouth, gazes forlornly from beyond the pale of change's limits, the area where desire's moving target can't help but land. Thank you.
Oh my God, Violet, that was so beautiful. I love this book so much, and it's really exciting that you can pre-order it tonight. So I hope you will, do not overwhelm Aiden, but I hope you will not leave without pre-ordering it. So we'll have it, you can pre-order it directly from the square, you can do this tonight, and you must before you go. It really is such a deeply important book, for which I'm so profoundly grateful. Thank you, Violet, that was beautiful. And I'm really honored now to get to turn it over to Ken Chen to introduce Wendy Lauderman.
Violet, that was an amazing reading. Thank you all for coming out. I'm a little bit unsure how to be a human being because, like some of you, I've been in mourning the last week, mourning for 2 million people I've never met, and also mourning for 2 people I have met, one of them being Fadi Judah, who had 40 family members die this week, and the other is Louise Glick, and her, I'm going to bring it actually to a way that's actually relevant to things that we're talking about, which is that when I was a young poet, I told Louise Glick, I've always felt that it was a bad thing to be intelligent while also being a poet. Do you know what I mean? And then she said, I know exactly what you mean. And I think talking with her made me realize, as well as coming to experimental poetry, made me realize that one could construct a poetry out of analysis. And that's something I thought about a lot when I first encountered Wendy's work, obviously analysis in multiple senses of the word. So I was a panelist, editor, judge, along with Hannah Black and Monica de la Torre, and we selected Wendy's book for the Future Poem Prize, and we were very excited to do so. And one thing that struck me was this overriding sense of analytical intelligence as a mode for writing a poetry that was not lyrical in nature. Apparently now when we listen to Bach tunes kind of going infinitely on, we think it's beautiful and harmonic and perfect and symmetrical. But at the time, people thought it was a kind of perverse intelligence, and which I'm just going to mention and drop there. But what I think is amazing about this book is its embrace of something like reason, not lyric, precision, not epiphany, or too many epiphanies rather than a epiphany, syntax and not metaphor, this sense of reason as a kind of excess. However, that braininess should not distract from how it's also a book of social satire, a psychogeography of being young in Brooklyn, written in the staccato, context-disrupting rhythms that might be familiar if you've read post-avant-garde poetry in the 90s. What is part of the weird texture of this book is its sense of being both very interior and very exterior. As she says at one point, I'm very inside. This is a book of a cogito that is libidinous, a superego who desires and is having a party. The poems that are almost casually flawless hum with a plucky percussion that remind me of Joelle McSweeney. Rather than lyricism, there's concepts and taxonomy, and the poems reinvent the prose poem into a cool, continuous plane. It's so poised and cerebral and scrupulous that you might blink. If you blink, you might miss that the underlying subtext of these poems is eros. Sex and love, girlhood and motherhood are always in transition, dematerialized, and often slightly comic in a way reminiscent of Katie Letter's work. In Wendy Lauderman's reaction to someone coming in, we see sang-froid as an excess. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ken. That was really beautiful and so generous, and it's nice to meet you. Thanks for helping make this book happen. And thank you to a few other people who made this happen. Dan and Aiden, I'm not sure where you're sitting, but thank you so much for your work on this. And also thank you, Tom, for designing it. I think I was a little difficult in the process, but I'm really happy with what happened. It's got some insides as well as outsides, which maybe resonates with what Ken said. So, thank you for coming. It's nice to see so many people I love and also people I don't know. It's both are really exciting to me. And Violet, thank you for reading with me. I'm such a tremendous fan of your work, and I've learned so much talking to you about these books. And yeah, I'll be in Bay Ridge on Saturday. It's Saturday, right? Yeah. So I'll see you there. Okay. This section is called. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. This section is called the imprecision of groups. And this is the first poem in the book, called "In the Flowers of Young Girls in Shadow," which is an inversion of "In the Shadow of Young Girls in Flower." Lifted up by blondes and the comic victory of the particular, like the city and my mom in a fake spontaneous duet. The financial district falls into her lap so that no good thing can be saved from a three-legged relay with the bad. Layers of grudge and wonder collapse into a single unsalted cracker, while miles of superstitious sun signs combust in a triangle of fire with liquor and wet wipes. Reggie curls into ringlets of love and disgust, nestling in settlements of incest and redness at the heart of his own sterile starfish. Neither ass nor mouth is undone by the circumference of the other, but the bedtimes of both get stretched by nights of progressively wider size, in excess of appetite ripped in plastic and dipped in Teflon honey. Awakened by the displaced taste of inverted cane, you realize anxiety always rides before the reason it is anxious to erase. Laws and observation lock inverted lips like Charlie's chocolate ancestors in the single king-sized bed. Golden favors, a Mr. Clean eraser, a circle of dirt and sanitation in which each outruns the other at the exact same pace. Early attempts to tuck the chin as you dive leave you blind to the alliance of dexterity and class. Money and sunscreen make the body spontaneously align, as displaced volumes of water speak inverse volumes of the body's native grace. Somewhere in the middle of all of this is a timeline of fungible love in which I forgot to say that I couldn't come home on half days to find the light of two perverted sons doing sex things on the bed, since the golf balls in my wallet cannot feel or be felt. Topical fondants take new names when the tips are black or frosted, so the flaxen are outed by the only sexed adjective in English, getting off beneath screens of mesh and jean, left with the disharmonic gloss of an improvised neon costume and the generic heather jersey of the Colorado Rockies. Riding that wave, not the cool synthetic scoreboard of moral proxies, I avoid the challenge, to live one way or another. Escaping from the shade inside that one maternal cubby and the secrets of its warm performance fleece, I draw two blonde sons in the analyst's second-hand dollhouse, resurrecting the waxy grave of dispossessed yellows and a single-track message from my parents, that it will be okay, that this genealogical contract cannot be renewed. Two cousins, cornrows, code words hidden in the postcards. In the woods, we measure the circumference of recessive reds and cry beneath the shade of a camo Abercrombie visor. Jackie says her nipples are the smallest in a competition to which no one consented. Smears of ejected chicken tenders and wood pulp are an end rhyme with the fireworks of the first official social. Duets of cream and sunscreen, your wrist writes the sequel. The classic khaki braid of rich Nantucket bracelets. These details go dormant in the winter as other kinds of release are sustained in the shape of vacant upstate cabins where butts butt heads with head and jump through hoops of softened Swiss cheese. Eggs on the underside of a frying pan, a brain lit up by the unseasonal desire for more life than any life can give. Now and then, portraits of young girls present two alternative futures, in which I accept either the meltdown of mountaintop removal or the secondary embellishments of Jell-O. Each infertile world waits just beyond the path of greatest pleasure, indefensible against the path of least disgrace. Parental love is enormous and mistakenly cast as the foil to all future partners. The jury admits to this. Duets of Gatorade and shame, a miscarriage of flowers in the garden. Dancing with that one particular star is the unchecked patient zero of all successive tingles on the warm embroidered scoreboard of the emerald velvet love seat. I cover the airspace with my grandma's checkered Afghan, swapping one profanity for another, weaving secrets which I pay to reveal. On another couch, I confess to jealousies that won't leave the session. Tonight is different from all other nights. But there's a reason that the question is asked so many times, even if it is obvious why we dip twice and why you and I choose to recline. Okay, I'm going to read some more long poems, I think. Maybe try to read some things I don't normally read. Well, okay, I'll read the third poem in the book. Pearl. Let us rob them. When this family is discovered to be the secret of that family, it is difficult to keep. Up in the steam room, nursed by noise and heat, the faucet talks down tapestries of scenes telling something other than stories. Trial by liar, lying by lateral fires in a race car twin-sized coincidence. Winded by 10 strokes of butterfly. I don't remember anything of the room. The event postdates the mood it turned into. Agree from here on to proceed down court without feet. Floored by hands and extremely good reasons for being here. Missed the meet. Met again by the museum on steps of gifts and grass. The best thing about my birthday is yours. Weeks go by like strokes of fat on glass in heat, greased for ejection in one piece. The open field opens its ear for you. One finger remains cautiously on the game piece, but we leave before learning that the resemblance has several accepted spellings. Light speaks in threes. Love infests the brain like seedless melon. In June, the gems are neither house nor guest, but a reaction to someone coming in. Let them rob us and us them. The mold breeds weakly, like the roof was only ever a suggestion. Okay, I don't know if I've, okay. This one's called Family Triage. I don't usually read it out loud, so I'll try. Okay, Family Triage. I put my life on the fridge with a chip clip, covering the corrugated skin of a much bigger face or a fever too hot not to know we got it wrong. The red kepi backpedals regret into a belated amnio waiting room. I paint the nursery yellow to cover my own advanced knowledge. I return to the race once the ribbon breaks. The world lap stands up. Once you go back, you never go back. Perhaps we got it wrong. Perhaps the baby and the bathwater switched places while we were getting tucked into a comfier sensorium. Urgencies confer in a handshake. The face card lays down and wins the race. Whatever happens, I still love you in the soft-core ectopic bedroom the time zones consensually remember. Even now, as panic reanimates from the whiplash of unlimited forecast. In ways I don't need to rank anything, least of all my care. In other ways, my mom will always come first, since kids are the future, and that gift cannot be ungiven, even if I take it. Coherence mistakenly relies on the trick ribbon of originary presence and its reproduction beyond the subject it delivers. You get less endless and something else endures. I get on the couch with no intention to be legible. And yet, some kind of centrism straps me down, and contamination phobia plays out like an expensive, invisible fence. The dogs just sunbathe alone. It isn't enough, especially when the literal division of space means some histories get wetter than others, making the drought into a chicken and the war into an oversexed egg, reproducing before it has even come of age. I lie down on the deck and wonder why the snow collected just to force itself back into the cinema of my closeted attention. The avalanche is Bunnicula, and gas is such a terrifying state, a tricked-out childhood antonym of the nebulizer in my bedroom on repeat. I get on the sofa, not the psychodynamic melon toss of a trillion hot pink halos collapsing on the beanbag of my heart, but you in total open access. The centerfold cannot hold. I bite my cup and run both hands across the holistic lips at the porn awards. Every angelic future tunes into the solutions embraced on the rightful froth of your illicit Costco screen. The class ghost goes to bed. My sovereign hand approaches the table, then slows to pull your hair behind your ear. Claudia mixes cream into the mashed potatoes, and I politely decline to eat tonight. The accidental protest isn't my daughter, but the peak inventory of everything I couldn't say was coming. In some ways I did this. In other ways, I can't be so proud. It's snowing on my face. No more arms, just a loving tentacular conclusion before its normative proof. I wrote that poem a really long time ago, and normally I wouldn't say something about the poems that I'm reading, but I have been thinking a lot recently about the family, which I am anecdotally very attached to as a form, being a kind of limit to political imagination. So I think this poem, Family Triage, was sort of about trying to triage those attachments. And so it's not, topical necessarily, but I wanted to read it. Okay, here we go. This one is from a section called Waves. There's 1, 2, and 3. This is 2. Also, I have no idea when I started. I'll read a couple more. Okay. Decals of love spit up the dial tone like nylon prayer flags. You constitute at least one remaining stanza of attachment, putting the lyric on pause with the ethical bedrock of debt. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Her legs upset you over and over again. A smooth olive tonic on the way to what you can't touch. I tried you back and got nothing but net worth. Your mattress filled with camembert. I am perfectly turned on and shut down by the repulsive taste of cream. For instance, your thigh rips open the seminal juice box, splashing face paint on the taboo of incest and sending my prize to the waiting room. Evening collects in the plexiglass as the room somehow ricochets your mood. There's a line that can't be walked, from the streets to my desk, where I saved your iridescent headshots in a set. A menagerie of chopsticks tests the tenderness of steaks not drawn to scale. It's exactly what it looks like. Most days I imagine myself wrapped around my mother's ankle or one of several lesser proxies. Dreams downpay the balance of what can't be staged in life, where I imagine the force of synthesis to be stoppable by a single disposable contact lens placed on the tip of a penis. Yours or mine, we keep switching places. How else to felonize the scoliosis of class, or have uncommon consequence in a zero-fault state? Very little happened in the time it took to pass from conditions of rain to snow. The sky opened up and watched us waste the day. A barely reflective stretch of cellophane takes our wavy portrait, but can't remember anything. It's exactly what it looks like. Our non-negotiables are comfort and an endlessly replicable nursery. Can you tell me maybe how much longer I have? I just have no sense. Okay, cool. I'll do a couple more. Thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with me. Cool. Okay, I'm going to read an old one that I never read out loud. It's called Crush. Online for the bathroom at Crush, I dissimulate the vibe and learn that Hannah absolutely loves the ground. There's an invitation to my name at the roundabout of your hip. A catalog of love gets stored in the blank space of several mesh jerseys, which is all that you wear for this rainy 3-day mood ring. I go home in one with a message redirecting me back to Dublin above 2 nylon zeros that contain an extreme willingness to evaporate the mantle. At this point, I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter how the mnemonic is spelled. The investment is temporary. The importance is more than historic. Hustle out of the sun for a minute, but please remember to want to come back. Cool spots divide in tripophobic protest on the floor of your sexual preference. I don't totally know what to say. I'm kept up by fatigue and a memory of not saying it right. The altitude of some beds suggests nothing more than an intrepid ring around the double wide. Your shorts suggest an altitude of interest. In the background, asthma attacks at dawn, leaving the sex toy to wake up as a gummy Livestrong bracelet. Confuse the bracelet for yourself, then leave it on the nightstand. Some summers ghostwrite the blueprint of all desire to follow, leaving you to lie, toss the album, and rearrange the furniture. Kids gather to make mac and cheese in the garden, untangling the minted pubescent demo kit. Of course, you wouldn't send your kid to camp if the mascots were addicts, known to detour their own recently detoxed benevolence, ushering Wendy to the edge of a bed I can barely remember, chaperoning intimacy to the speed of its knees, kissing the floor of unshorn erotic proportions where 2 counselors tighten the seat of a swivel chair, mouthing over, beneath, and between. 4 disordered winds spin a replica of daytime, sending mom to retract me, mid-bar mitzvah, in the silver Mercury wagon. The 2-ply wing of my visual field projects a crush not brought to term, a dusky, Nike-lined block where it's safe to stroll at night. Banner ads unfold beside my free time like a cartoon prophylactic. Make a pilgrimage back to the block where your fly nets are made. Roll into town, sweating through a gallery of zapped adolescents in Bangkok, a trillion times worse than every guilty cafeteria on the corkboard of your heart. Good zoning runs interference in the living room, where some kid keeps me hot but modest. A point belabored in 2 ways, my meticulous summer look and his year-long carpal fever. The story now hides in my jeans with a cache of other summers I intentionally forget. Debride the heat-tech lining even if it's hiding in my heart. Share my sneakers even if I never leave a trace. I wish I hadn't known that when I'm here, I'm family, since these goggles blush like amber over the corroborated blue. No need to say it again, your worm is your ear. That is a wonderful thing. It's amazing how many acres of you can fit inside the world's smallest omnipotent object. Buy more clouds to house the proof. It would hurt too much to forget you. In some hasty fantasy, everything has already been fought for. The right to bring tuna to the break room gets in line behind the chip on your shoulder. Vacation at home, rub peanut butter on a pacifier, don't read the news after 8. Each error isn't a bee crashing a bonnet or a blemish on the face of a baby. Ambassador of Hive, see my automatic reply. I'm 110% with you on every last issue, but have limited access to email while my family surfs the carpeted curve of our birth canal, chilled with cucumber melon. Baths and bodies go to work, rallying to patch the organic fabric that keeps these 2 weddings separate. In the middle of the night, your name quakes, and you decide you're a saint by force of invasion. If there really is only one direction, and it's this, just be sure to ignore each patented tremor of your life, affirmed inside your purse during dinner. Come back from the wilderness with a ragged mattress and a menacing set of Crocs. The shelf life ruined all life, same with insurance. The promise of more sticks out its tongue and rims the curve of our emergency excess. You post about the weather and sex work from a porch swing with excellent lumbar support. The garden is a metaphor. Feel free not to take it too seriously tonight when the speed of life collaborates with its curfew. If I could put everything on pause, I'd write about the space between your butt and whatever comes next. I apologize for not navigating your life with enough kindness or mistaking myself as my birthright. It's clear now how much I miscommunicated your beauty. Late revelations land like furniture thrown into a pool. The surface tension just laughs back and eggs you on. I would have liked the chance to uncast my ballot, if only to say that there was more I should have said. Okay, maybe just, two more short ones. I really didn't prepare what to read, but I'm feeling okay just extemporizing. Okay. I'll read one more prose poem and then I'll read the final poem in the book to close it out. Okay, this one's called Delete to Receive. Too fond of the things I've been taught to be fond of, kind to bees and dogs off leash, an unnecessary custodian of the animals that surround, high, divided, wrong every time, towing the insensate center toward the poverty of its original cause, that sex is how you got here and why you will eventually leave, having remained technically aware but functionally blind in the meantime for want of a different desire unknown to the documented tastes of home and safety, ready and edible to the crowd that surrounds, alligators unable to give love but radiating a name you insatiably accept, as if it were good to take care of that imaginary life, or the resident consensus to whom it belongs, ignoring yours, clearing debris from a body of shame in which the legs will inevitably give out, leaving you to say yes to the resident angel who asks if you are drowning off the coast of your responsibly buoyant home, vomiting gold mesh amenities that can't hold your sequin dream as you wake up screaming, soaked through the unzipped cotton hoodie placed beneath your waist that belatedly refuses to save you as waste makes its way to the mnemonic bottom of the mattress, releasing your formerly invisible crush, now documented in the sheets, insisting on saving the life that remains as you continue to toss in only one of two ways, so that each cheek expires, vacations, and returns to work on the double-sided face of a confession not yet ready to be made, promising to vacate the excess it holds by itself, mimicking the seasonal storage of fruits, hoarding the impossibly forested future like squirrels gone wild while arresting the wrong side of the sidewalk, bringing good lives to ground in the miscarried tragedy of bad recognition, missing your face for the trees that hold secrets in canopies of 3D leaves as we seek unseen immunity and idols beneath the least, most populated plaza where gravel remembers the skin of your cheek and the depression of rocks is a mnemonic lost as soon as we walk, commuting across those same streets among others unable to breathe, rolling through the space that remains of a not-so-distant cloud on the verge of maxing out, filled with variations of ordinary sunsets and faces too intimate for deletion, rising to the brim of its ability, unable to save anything beyond what it already contains, failing to testify to the face of this loss, dying of heat, but unable to join the hot spot as a moment of life or death is forgotten off screen, intentionally or accidentally ignoring the breach of a historical border between the secrecy of heat and the cold hostility of the street against which you feel each of your cheeks let go of the fruits that you keep, dying for a love you can't reach, too intimate to be deleted or freed, screaming in your sleep, meeting your brim and then receding, intentionally or accidentally forgetting to speak or remember the rest of you as you rest very far from peace. Okay, two short ones and then we're done. Okay, steep ravine. Anemones incriminated on rock respond shyly to fingers in the socket, suggesting the face is just an expression, or else daylight hits different below water. If water were a condition of rock and not the other way around, our jagged avenue of differently shaped lanes would swallow both ends of the rubber spaghetti, clutched sensibly between two opposing instincts that both kill the cat. Sand keeps the time between your hips, at which point I open them up in order to come back the day after tomorrow. If months were days, if the bird song were spelled out phonetically, I would come back home and cut the first slices small, knowing that cake is just as fickle in size as states. For instance, we had no way of knowing the shape of California before we got there. Sort of a manifest destiny poem. And then I'll read the final poem in the book, which is called Hetera. Thank you so much for coming. In the kitchen, we realize that action progresses only by accident. Rooms change with the arrival of Ivy more times than can squeeze between the record. These inhalations were never let out, or expressed, or represented in size. When salt turns to looks, and love gets lost at sea through the scandal of a peephole, you look back to ask, what you looking at? Our plots align by weight class and the consonants of crawl space. For decades, the UK mistakenly believed the vines antagonized the trees, implying a hierarchy of size. Now, in this weird, denuded universe, we will pay for this disinvitation for life. Thank you so much.
God damn it, Wendy. That was so, I'm just so glad that your book is here, and also sad that it's not literally here because we did sell out like immediately. But there are more copies in the world, and I very much urge you to get one. Thank you. That was incredible. This whole reading, I'm like, poetry is so good, you know? Like, shit. That was really, let's just like, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, before you leave, to pre-order a copy of Violet's book. I'll see you again on Wednesday. I'll see you again on Saturday. I'll see you again next Thursday. And take good care. Thank you so much.